the bishop, whispered to me, you have 30 seconds. This guy comes late and he gets 10 minutes. You will be invited to speak to a church depending on the size of the envelope that you're willing to give. Your average voter doesn't trust the word of a politician. So they don't care about your 5-year vision. Give us money, we listen to you, it's done. Elections today are won by who has money to excite the crowd.
Yeah.
Corruption actually brings death and destruction to this country. It is even very difficult for a president to fight corruption because the whole systems below you, every MP, every governor, well, not every, but many of them are compromised.
Yeah. If we do not value certain things in our system, that's where you find that, it compromises a lot, even in terms of the whole electoral process.
Yes. God is a politician. We say he's the king of kings. Kings are politicians, and he's a king. So,
he's the ultimate.
He's the ultimate politician. Number one, politics and governance is in a very simple way. It's how we organize ourselves to live together. Part of the communication that maybe we need to consider is reminding people that every good thing they have in their life is founded on integrity.
Yeah.
My son, who's sitting in his back seat, he said, Dad, you've done the right thing.
Oh, wow.
When the light is red, you're supposed to stop.
Yeah.
And then when it is green, you're supposed to go. So you've done the right thing. Then he kept quiet. So my wife and I looked at each other for, what?
Yo, what's up, good people, man? First, thank you so much for always joining us for the DJ Mo's podcast. We do not take it for granted, man. I'm always excited to be able to have wonderful guests joining me for conversations. People who are known, other people who are not known, but they are known in their circles. And, just being able to have genuine, honest conversations with them. So, man, as you continue digging in and enjoying the podcast, we'd like to encourage you to go ahead and support us, man. This is only possible through your love and through your support. Pray for us. Talk about us, but then also you can go ahead and go a step further and support us financially, and you can do that by our account number and the till number. They're all, is it till number? No, the pay bill number and the account numbers you call up. Please do go ahead and support us financially, because this encourages us. It allows us to be able to pay our bills and to continue hooking you up with more great content. Sindio. Thank you so much for your love. In the meantime, man, let's continue in our conversations today hapa hivi on the DJ Mo's podcast. Bro, it's really nice to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you. And happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy that you're here because for me, I've had the chance to know you for a while. We've been together a very long time, and from when we were kids.
Yeah.
But I do love the work that you're doing, and I was very happy to see you on NTV 2 weeks. We just clarified it was 2 weeks. I thought it was last week, but it's 2 weeks ago.
Yes, 2 weeks ago.
And they have this new show that they've started. It's called Fixing the Nation. And I was just talking to Janet about it, just getting some feedback from her, and actually just finding out how she feels how the production is going. And it's really good to see that they're trying to fix the nation one day at a time, or one conversation at a time.
Yes.
And I'm excited to have you here because you're close to this thing of politics and governance. And, for us as a country, man, we are in an interesting season, if I may say that.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's tough. We are smack in the middle of a presidential term.
Yes.
So it's been 2.5 years to go. So I think, we've had an interesting ride as a country the last 2.5 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, the other thing I'm just saying, just happy to have you here, is because I know your values and I know what you stand for.
Thank you.
And it almost feels as though it's like when guys get into this position of power, it's like the values go out the door. It's like your qualification in Kenya to become a politician is one of the values is do not be a person of integrity. And I say that I know I'm laughing about it, but it's extremely sad.
Yes. Yeah.
It's extremely sad because you'll find that many people who you would have thought are people of integrity, it's like once they go in, something changes.
Yes. Well, my theory is that something doesn't change when you go in. It changes before you go in. Actually, the process of getting you in is the one that can mess you up completely.
Oh, wow.
Because of the way the system is set up. Yeah.
The process of getting there.
The process of getting there.
I mean, of course, we know that, if it's politics, like if you're going for elections, you have to go for, grassroots campaigns. So basically you're saying from that point of inception.
Hapo kwa ground. That's where things go wrong. That's where you start, you start compromising. Yes. And you start getting tainted.
Yeah.
And the system is set up in such a way that either you comply or you lose. So if you comply and maybe win, and hopefully win, or you refuse to comply with the demands for corruption and you lose.
Yeah.
So it's actually it's a demand-driven thing. It's actually demand-driven corruption. We like to, in our country, like to blame our leaders and say our leaders have let us down. Oh, they are corrupt. Oh, they are mismanaging our taxes. But we're the ones who put them there.
Yeah.
Through a process of election. And so the election process is just a very messy setup. So how it works is...
and you've had the opportunity to vie.
Yes. Yes. I ran for Member of Parliament in Kiambu constituency.
Yeah.
Twice. First time in 2013. And then I skipped 2017 and then ran again in 2022.
Yeah.
Kiambu constituency basically covers Kiambu town area on Kiambu Road. And the experience was rough. The experience, especially my first time, I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
So here I am, candidate who believes in, values, vision, integrity.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, it's a faith venture. So I'm trying to merge my faith with this deep passion and calling in the area of politics.
Yeah.
And so I went in and I did some community projects, just trying to introduce myself to the people and those kind of things over a period of like 3 years.
Yeah.
From 2010. And, but then what I hadn't prepared for is now the election campaign season. That's 6 months before the election. Because we get into some kind of a frenzy.
Yeah.
And everyone declares their interest in this political seat. And so what happens is, people start organizing themselves. So the voters start organizing themselves into groups and invite you as the mheshimiwa mtarajiwa to come and talk to them and tell them what your vision is.
Yeah.
But they're not really interested in what you're standing for. It's more about how much money can you bring? Can you give us?
Yeah.
Yeah. What can you... Are you able to, so you get invited to meet a group of women and the expectation is that you will come with some cash.
Yeah.
Either to gift to the large group to a project of their choice.
Yeah.
Or to dish out in 100 shilling notes, 200 shilling notes, 500 shilling notes to every member of the group. And so the more money as a candidate you have to dish out, the larger the group, the more excited they are about you. They will sing for you.
Yeah.
They'll tell you, Moses, you are the one. We have never seen a serious leader like you. Yeah, kwa ground imekubali. The people have accepted.
Yeah.
Your vision is amazing. They don't know what your vision is. They just know that you've come with some money.
Yeah.
And now, those just the women. Then you have the men. Who are also asking for money. You have the boda riders, the sector-based people.
Yeah.
You go to the market, there's an expectation that you're giving, there's money to change hands. You call the young people, the youth.
Yeah.
They organize themselves. They'll call you, they say, come visit our football team, but there's an expectation.
Yeah, you'll give something.
And if you don't participate in it, you end up being this clueless candidate who is mean and stingy.
Yeah.
And who... It's like, you don't understand how this thing works, Bana.
Yeah.
Like, get serious. And so, you'll find it rough. And I found it rough because I wasn't willing to give money because I felt, no, it's about what the agenda. This is, let's talk about policy. Let's talk about what it is that we're doing. But, hey, you'll find it rough. And it is so bad that even and I hate to say this, but even in our churches, you will be invited to speak to a church depending on the size of the envelope that you're willing to give to the pastor, the bishop.
Yeah.
I've never forgotten once I was in this church, and because I wasn't having a bahasha, I just made sure that they knew that I was there, and I wanted to say hello to the people. And I was told, okay, and we have Mheshimiwa, a young man who's running for office. He can come and say hello to the people. And when I went to the front, the bishop, whispered to me, "You have 30 seconds."
Oh my gosh.
So I have 30 seconds to say my name, what I'm running for, what I care about, which party, and ask for their votes.
Man.
So basically, Rush, of course, it was slightly more than 30 seconds, but, it was definitely under a minute. So I felt rushed. You haven't quite said, people won't even remember what you said.
Yeah.
An hour later, at the end of the service, my competitor came. And he got 10 minutes to explain his vision.
Oh, wow. You're there in the congregation.
Yeah, I'm still sitting there.
The guy has come late.
He has come late. I have been sitting through, because I'm like, let me, I know it's politics, but let me be respectful. Let me come on time. Let me sit through the service so that, you look like, also it's a church service for you. You also, so that you also go for church as you're campaigning. This guy comes late and he gets 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't understand it until late. I realized, okay, there's some transaction that was happening. So our elections are very transactional with a corrupt thing. And there is a reason for that, because I think the people don't, your average voter doesn't trust the word of a politician.
Wow.
Yeah, they believe that politicians are just liars. So they don't care about your 5-year vision. It's the here and now.
Yeah.
We'll come and listen to you. See, you want a crowd. Yeah, and you care for name recognition. We'll come, 100 of us, we'll listen to you. You give us money for being present. So
do
it's
your photo ops if you want.
Yes,
we don't care.
Yes, and we'll sing for you and it'll make you look popular. And you'll get a chance to introduce yourself. And if you're pushing your name recognition, you'll get that opportunity. But it's for that brief moment. Give us money. We listen to you. It's done. Simple transaction.
Yeah.
So that's how our politics is set up.
Yeah.
Every part of this country.
I want to ask, at what point did we start going wrong? Because now you're in this space, you must have probably done some research. Does it go back to the day of our founding fathers?
I don't know. I wonder, back in the day, in the 1960s, when we got independence, were Kina Jomo Kenyatta, Kibaki, I don't know whether they were campaigning this way, but I think it was much less. It hasn't, even if maybe there was, definitely from the history I've seen, in the 70s and the 80s, there was a lot more money in the system.
Yeah.
But I think in those days, even the caliber of people we were electing suggests that people were more interested in your capacity.
What are you going to...
Yeah, what are you going to do? First of all, who are you? What are your qualifications?
Yeah.
So they tended to elect educated people. Because, also education was sort of what hadn't quite entered our society quite a bit. There was a few people who are highly educated.
Yeah.
So when you have people like Kiano, the former minister, I forget his first name. And people like, anyway.
And he was like the first guy to get a PhD, I think.
Yeah, so he had a PhD. And a few other guys, people with master's degrees, people with degrees even.
I mean, like Akina Kibaki and those guys, they were very well educated.
Yeah, and so there was a reverence for, if you have that, if you're educated, if you have some experience, maybe you're good in business or you've served in public service, then maybe you can qualify to get elected.
Yes. So
I think there was, even if there was money going around, it was diminished compared to now. Now is elections today are won by who has money to excite the crowd.
Yeah.
And exciting the crowd is a combination of giving money and also doing activations that are, having, what are these, these vehicles you guys use for caravans, roadshow tracks. And so whoever has money to do that. And so you excite the people and also dish out some money and some goodies. That's how you win an election.
I remember, back in the 90s, I know I was young, but I do remember, because my dad was in politics as well.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And It got to a place where I think it was maybe in the early, I want to say something like in 92.
Yeah.
Something happened in that year because we got fake money introduced in the economy.
Yes.
And now guys were being given these fake 500 shilling notes. I was a young kid, but I do remember this vividly, and I think that this was the first time I think I remember seeing open corruption, especially geared towards politics and heading towards elections.
Yes.
And there was now this new breed of politics that was coming in at that point. And we have never
quite recovered.
And we lost our values a lot at that point. Because now money has been poured and now this is our currency for, I'll give you this for your vote.
Yes. And the sad thing is some of the guys who are involved in that 1992 things are national leaders today.
Yes.
So, yes, we can't recover because they figured out that this is the formula. You can, because you see, we I think there's also a lot of poverty. There's a lot of, people are struggling.
Yeah.
And so enticing people with money is a shortcut. Money is always sort of a very easy shortcut to get people in a room.
Yes.
I think you and I have been involved in mobilization activities for different causes and and it's easy. It's difficult to get 10 people in a room for a seminar or for a workshop. You have to really work hard at it, and you have to invest in a setup for a DJ and sound and to make it even interesting. But because when you have money, you're able to buy that process.
Yes.
And people sometimes don't even care what it is that you're offering. They will come. If you say, I'm going to give everyone who comes to this meeting 1,000 shillings.
Oh, guys will rock up.
You will have 1,000 people there before you even figure out. In fact, now you'll have a security problem.
Yes.
And so I think, I hadn't thought of it that way, but that 1992...
I think it was a turning point.
Was a tipping point,
for our elections. Like you said, now those guys are in power. And they have perfected the art. And now they have trained other people who are continuing with the same process.
Yes.
And I ask this just to ask, as we talk about Kenyan politics and just how, and I don't just think it's Kenyan politics, I probably want to say that most African countries, our politics has been brought to that level. Where now we're not even considering people, what's their education, what's their level of education, or what are they offering, what are they going to bring that's different to our community from the previous leader that they want to, to take over from.
Yeah.
But now it's based on flamboyancy.
Yes.
And what can you give me for now? And so we're willing to compromise the now for, we're willing to compromise the future for the now.
Yeah.
And, if we do not value certain things in our system, that's where you find that it compromises a lot, even in terms of the whole electoral process.
Yes, it compromises the electoral process, compromises the people who, even the ones who had good intentions.
Yeah.
Because not everyone goes into politics trying to figure out how to steal. There are people who deeply care about this country,
and they genuinely want to serve.
And they would genuinely want to serve, and they want to see a change, and they have ideas. But the process compromises you, and then and so you get elected member of county assembly, or governor, or MP, or senator, or governor, or even president. But you're compromised.
Yeah,
and you figured out that this is how the game is played. So there is level 1 of the game, which is getting elected. And before you get elected, there was also, remember we were talking about the issue of nominations.
Oh, now this is now party politics.
Party politics.
And this is where it starts.
Yes, that's also a problem.
Yeah.
Because our parties are briefcase organizations, even our largest parties. Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
If you go to your local church, any local church, not even your local church, just show up at a church, PCA church, Anglican, Catholic, and on a random Monday afternoon, and tell them, look, I'm here, my name is Mose, and I'm interested in participating in this church. How can I engage? They'll tell you, in fact, we have prayers on today, so you can join us. And then tomorrow you can come we normally do missions, outreach to the community. We take food to orphanage and, old people, senior citizens. And then on Thursday, we have, practice for choir if you're interested. Ushers meet on Saturday. And then Sunday, there's the service. So you can plug in at any point. And then you grow from there. What does that mean? It means there's activity. It means there's an operation. There's a leadership. There's a structure. There is processes happening in that church. Now, our political parties, if you walk into any political party, any, in your local area, or even in even a national office or a county office, and say, my name is Mose, I'm interested in engaging. They don't know what to do with you because there's no activities. These things are dormant for 4.5 years, and they come alive the last 6 months to an election. Now, how does that affect the nominations? It means that your local, a nomination exercise or a party primary exercise. So we both want to run on the same political party ticket, so we have to fight it out at the party level before we get to the national election. What that means, so we have to go head to head. And that contest at the party level must be overseen and managed by the local branch or sub-branch, depending on the level. But these guys have no activity. They have the party. They have no procedures. They just have a list of people who are called officials, but there's no party program. So they have no capacity to run something. Much less capacity even to manage a contentious nomination. And so what happens is the people who tend to win nominations are the people who are able to control the process. So if it is me versus you, it is my goons versus your goons. So you come, you control the ballot, you control the counting, you control everything. And you even make sure you elect your own officials. And I try and do the same. So whoever has the stronger goons is the one who
will get the party nomination.
So you see now it's already a corrupt process because we are stealing. It's fraud. It's hooliganism in a sense. So these are the processes. Now, those are the guys who we put in parliament. And we tell them to manage our 3 trillion shilling budget. Those are the guys we put in our counties as representatives, and they have to manage billion shilling budgets. These are people who get to hold public office. They are responsible for allocating public resources, managing taxes, planning, but they've gone through this murky exercise. So there's level 1, which is getting elected. Then there's level 2. Now you're in a space where you're managing public resources, but you're already compromised and tainted by the corruption. So the architecture of our politics, it is even very difficult for a president to fight corruption because the whole systems below you, every MP, every governor, well, not every, but many of them are compromised. So you fighting corruption as president is fighting yourself.
You're fighting the very system that
is holding you up.
Oh, wow.
So it's a difficult setup. And that's the system that we find ourselves in. Yes. So if you're going to build a road, people need to make money. And I have to make money to recover from my last campaign.
Or the money that I used for the campaign.
Yes. And then I have to make money to build for the next campaign. And then, of course, I have to make money to benefit myself. So,
oh my gosh.
So the corruption in the system, stealing or theft, cheating, fraud, lies, and bribing. It's just pervasive in the system.
And also, as you highlighted, hooliganism.
Yes.
Because these are all things that we get to see. Even today, like just the other day, there was chaos in the county assembly in Nairobi. When we saw our leaders, and it happens all over, in many parts of the country when things do not go as they're purported to be, And so then you've got to wonder if this system is so messed up, Ranja, right from the grassroots. It's systemic. Right from me, at the by the time I'm sitting and listening to Ranja, who wants to become my area MP, I'm like, okay, Ranja, what do you have for me?
Yes.
You get? So if from this point of inception that the process is completely mad, what hope do we have as a nation to recover? What hope do we have to be able to say that we can break away from this messed up system to now be able to have leaders who are there on merit, leaders who are thinking about how they can be able to develop our people, and not guys who are selfish. And I'm not saying that all leaders are selfish. Sometimes I think they get in that position, they find that there's already a system that has been established.
Yes.
But how do we make sure that we have leaders who are selfless and who care about the people who have elected them to bring about change in our country?
Well, we need an integrity revolution in Kenya. And this is something serious. This is I in the last campaign, at the end of the last campaign that I was in 2022.
Yeah.
I really wondered. I got my 300 votes, and I was like, wow, 300. The first time I got 700. So am I moving backwards?
Yeah.
Like what's going on? But I came to the realization that for a candidate like me, who is determined to do politics clean, to get elected on the strength of on the platform of integrity, it is almost impossible for me to get elected.
Yeah.
The only way to get elected is if I somehow got endorsement from the party leader. Or if I'm already a high-profile person, a TV personality, like, someone like you, maybe you can get elected because you already have name recognition, those kind of things. So it's almost impossible to overcome that corruption challenge and that lack of integrity challenge. And so the only way to go about it, then there's no shortcut about this, is to change how we think as voters. Is to change how we think, change our mindsets, help us begin to think differently so that we act differently and feel differently. So that's why I'm talking about an integrity revolution.
I mean, I love what you're saying about the integrity revolution, because it's like basically what you're saying is we need to go against the grain. So the water is flowing this way, we need to start going the opposite direction. But you've got to wonder, with the way things are today, I'm not trying to paint a gloomy situation, but almost feels as though the way the politics has been set up, it's almost, let's keep our people oppressed. Let's not let our people advance. Let's not educate our people. Let our people not know what their rights are. Because the more they live in ignorance, the more we are able to manipulate them more. So if our people are kept in ignorance, then they'll never know that which is good for them. So basically, it's like you're saying we need to go to the very foundation. But then we're also told, we're told samaki mkunje angali mbichi.
Yes.
You get, so many of us are set in our ways that if what you're suggesting is going to happen, Ranja, I think it can only happen with it's like a new breed. It has to be a new generation, like a new breed.
Well, yes and no. And I'll explain why.
Yeah.
So first, I know we've painted a very gloomy picture of how corrupt Kenya is, and like it's, we are dead, we are finished.
I mean, I don't think we're finished, but we're not far from, like, when you listen to, if we say that the leaders we elect are a reflection of the society, they say msanini kio cha jamii.
Yes.
Yeah. But then we can also say that the politicians we elect are a true reflection of who we are.
100%.
Because we got them there.
Yeah.
We had other candidates we would have chosen, but we opted to elect this one person to go and represent us.
Yeah.
So how else can we not look at it as we're in a bad situation when we're the very people who put them there?
Yeah. I'll give you an example. My favorite example is traffic. We all know how chaotic traffic is in this country. Mainly because of people are indisciplined, and Yeah, and the enforcement is poor, and we've just developed a culture of being in a hurry. I mean, a guy, sometimes someone will just be in a hurry, only for them to stop 100 meters to say hello to their friend. So you're like, okay, so why did you, what was the point there? But imagine you're standing somewhere at a traffic stop, to a place where there's a traffic light. Think of a junction near you.
Yeah.
Here we have traffic lights at the junction, or even at Yaya or something. And so the traffic light turns red.
Yeah.
So you are standing on the street and watching. And these 10 cars approach the traffic light. 10 cars. So there's not the first three. There is going to be 3 cars for whom that traffic light is a tree.
Yeah, it's a suggestion.
Yeah, it's not even a suggestion. It's like a post. It's like a random thing that's not even an issue for them. They'll just pass by. They have no intention. They don't even recognize it as a stop.
Yeah.
In fact, if you arrested them at that point, it'll be like, oh, nini, what have I done? So there's always those 3 out of the 10. On the other hand, there is always 2 guys out of 10 who will always stop. So for them, a red light means I stop. A green light means I go. Orange, amber light means prepare to stop or prepare to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's always 2 guys who will comply. And then there's always 3 guys who, for them, they don't care.
Yeah.
But that leaves 5 guys in the middle who are a majority.
Yeah.
Who, depending on the opportunity, if Moses is the kind of guy who will stop, and he stops ahead of me, then okay, sawa, I will wait. If I'm not in a hurry, then maybe I'll wait. If I've just come from church and I'm feeling I need to be a good citizen, or I've come from a powerful podcast, I'm feeling convicted about my road habits, then I'll wait.
Yeah.
But if I'm in a hurry, or if maybe it's looking like the cop is not watching, the police are not there, I might just pass.
Yeah.
So there's a 5 majority who can sway either way. Okay, so it's not everyone. So you have 2, usually the smaller one, 2 out of 10, and then you have 3 out of 10 who they don't care.
Yeah.
There is a way our society has been set up to focus on the 3 who seem to be succeeding, seem to be getting ahead, seem to be getting away with it, seem to be getting to the top or getting wealthier faster. This is the way we focus on these 3 guys who ignored the traffic light. Because, they seemed to they passed it and they got away with it and nothing happened to them and it was okay.
Yeah.
So maybe I shouldn't wait. And so they look more successful. They look clever.
Yeah.
We like to say ni ujanja. Ama ni kujipanga.
Yeah.
It's, I'm kupenya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the word actually.
Yeah. I'm getting away with this thing, this shortcut. How about if we decided to shine a spotlight on the 2 guys who follow the procedure, follow the traffic light, make these guys champions, make these guys heroes, celebrate these guys.
Yeah.
In fact, use these guys to demonstrate that when you stop at the light, it actually helps all of us. Because it allows those guys, the other lane to pass, and the other lane to pass. And really stopping at the traffic lights, it's all of 39 seconds or 40 seconds. It's not even a minute most of the time.
Yeah.
So that not only are they heroes, but they help our society function better.
Yeah.
And we figure out how to package them and just make them look like the most amazing
ultimate
people.
champions.
The
The heroes of the society.
Yes. And use now that packaging and communication to inspire the 5. Remember the 5 majority who could go either way. Inspire these guys to follow the guys with integrity. So that then we isolate the 3 guys who don't care.
Yeah.
We might not get all 5, but we might get 4. But somehow we'll build our majority.
4 + 2 is 6.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we'll slowly shift the culture.
Yeah.
So right now, the culture is driven by the 3 guys who are not willing to follow the rules.
They're shaping the narrative.
Yes.
They're controlling the story.
Yes. Or think about even on your way on a random drive, either home or to work or something.
Yeah.
And then there's an obstruction and cars queue. So initially, everyone queues.
Yeah.
Then after, you can even do a countdown for like 20 seconds. Kidogo a matatu just whizzes past.
Yeah.
And then another car, sometimes even a government vehicle, just passes.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly people are like, So suddenly the queue, people start thinking, oh, you mean. So the majority of us were actually queuing.
Yeah.
So that tells you the majority are actually willing to comply. But then there's always the guys who drive that and drive the culture, shape the narrative, make it look like they are amazing and like they're the ones who know how to get things done.
Yeah.
And there's always the guys who follow. So your ordinary Kenyan is actually willing to follow the queue. So if we inspire them, maybe we will reinforce them. Maybe they will. I mean, how many times have you, even even for me, I think there are times when I've thought about jumping that light, but then, then someone else stops and I think, oh, the guy stopped, even me, maybe I should stop. Then you feel good about yourself because you are being wishy-washy because you are running late for something, but then, you do it and then you feel good about it. So how do we celebrate those guys and begin to shift that narrative?
Yeah.
Now, it may sound very difficult.
I mean, it sounds like a insurmountable task.
Yeah. But think about it, there is that opportunity. And the bigger opportunity we have is this with this majority 5 people who are willing to go one way or the other.
Yeah.
Depending on, how their circumstances are. And part of the communication that maybe we need to consider is reminding people that every good thing they have in their life is founded on integrity.
Yeah.
Every good thing. The reason why you have a best friend is because you trust that friend.
Yeah.
So there's an integrity relationship there. A business deal. No one really gets into a business deal with someone who is a thief.
Yeah. But the guy will steal from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You look for people you trust. And that's why we get so offended when you lend someone money and they don't pay you back because you trusted them.
Yeah.
You will, you send your kids to school because you trust the teachers and the school to take care of them. And when you think about your kids, from the time they are 2 years, 5 months, 3 years, you actually trust people. So there's an integrity thing there. And if you suspected that there was no integrity, then you wouldn't take your children there.
Yeah.
You go and sit in a restaurant and trust that the chef is a person of integrity. So you'll not serve you food that is going to mess up your stomach.
Yeah.
You get into a public vehicle, a matatu, because you trust the driver. Someone was saying that no one ever goes to check whether the driver is a kiguru. Like, it doesn't have one leg or something. You don't check. You just trust that that's going to happen. And so we are people of integrity. When you buy your car, you've saved up, you and your wife, and you finally bought your 3 million shilling car, which is, the average price of a nice car, fresh, small SUV. You will take it to the car wash and give it to Omosh or Peter or Karis and leave it there and go on errands. You go to the supermarket, do it in 2-3 hours because there was a queue maybe at the car wash. You didn't need to wait. So you left your 3 million shilling asset with someone who's really, you don't even know where they live. You don't know whether they have an ID, but you trust them to take care of. So we are people of integrity.
Yeah.
And so, our life is set up to operate on integrity. And so these 5 people we are trying to convince, we're telling them, this is not something new that you're doing.
Wow.
This is this is what you do.
This is so good, Ranja, what you're saying. Wow.
This is what you do every time at home, at work, at school, with your friends, with relatives. Yeah. And so we are people of integrity. So the corruption culture may seem to be pervasive, but it's because there's a small minority in every sector, whether it is politics or music or media or legal profession there's a small group of people who want to get ahead through shortcuts. They want to bribe. They want to, and they drive the narrative, and they look like they are succeeding. And somehow, unfortunately, they are able to look like they're the ones who know what's up.
Yeah.
But the majority of us are willing to do things right.
That's so good what you're saying, because honestly, it's like basically it's like you are opening my eyes as well to be like, Mose, tell a different story. Shine the light on someone different.
Yeah.
Someone who's doing something positive. It's like, let's affirm the wonderful things that people are doing.
Yes.
So that we can encourage more and more people to continue doing those wonderful things that these two people are doing.
Yes.
And this, because you gave us a good example out of the 10. There's 3 who are going to, just do the bad things. You have the 2 who are doing good things, but you have the 5 who can be swayed either way.
Yeah.
But they're already doing good things.
Yes. Yes.
So encourage them to continue doing, to do the good things that they know they can do, or that they have been doing subconsciously.
Yes. Yeah. And in that way, and think about how, I like what you said about telling a different story, because it's sort of shifting the narrative, even in terms of fighting corruption, which is what we call it. I think when you say fighting corruption, we make corruption out to be this giant monster.
But we've been told it's a dragon. You need to slay the dragon. In the next 5 years, I'm going to slay the dragon of corruption.
So in terms of the power relationship between me and corruption, how do I fight a dragon? Yes. And if the dragon is in the whole country, so there's a way powerless, let's just try and fight corruption.
Actually, we're helpless.
Yeah, we're helpless. Yeah. Everything is, doom and gloom. But when you start celebrating integrity and showing people you have integrity, let's operate, this is the right thing to do, then you're operating from a position of power.
Yeah.
So now corruption is no longer in a position of power. In fact, corruption is the 3 guys.
Yeah.
Out of the 10.
In fact, they'll even be seen even brighter now.
Yes. Yeah. So there you go. And you might even find those 3 out of 10 drivers. Now suddenly there's one guy who will be like, over here, okay, let me try and follow.
Yeah.
So it might end up being 2. So we are operating from a point of power and authority and say, no, we believe in ourselves as a country. We are people of integrity. We are going to do things right. We're going to do business right. We're going to do our politics right. We're not going to say we are our leaders, because then when we say the system is corrupt, our leaders are corrupt, we take away our own agency. It's like, we me maskini, what shall I do? But if you decide that I'm going to operate with integrity, you are taking agency. You are taking a positive step to take a stand. I'm going to do something about it.
Yeah.
And so it's a different narrative. It's a position of power. There's something you asked about whether tumekubali, our community, our nation has accepted, our people have accepted, and so it's like we need a new generation. I think what has happened with now our generation, you and I, our peers, we are in our 30s, we are 40s, we are Gen X, we are millennials, some boomers. I think we've sort of been defeated by this thing, and we've come to the point of this corruption thing is so big, it will never really end.
Yeah.
And we even talk about it that way. So like, this is Kenya. And I'm like, wow, but first of all, is that something that annoys me when you say this is Kenya?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, that's not my Kenya. And my Kenya is a good country.
Yeah.
But because this thing, corruption system, cartels everywhere, you watch news, there's who is stealing billions.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming. So there's a way we narrow our focus and we decide, okay, let me just focus on doing my job, feeding my family.
Yeah.
My kids go to school, repairing bikes which are spoiled. I just do my thing. I can't fight for the whole country. Let me just focus on myself. This is what I can do. And so, to some extent, our generation has gotten there out of frustration, because we care for.
You try to move forward, you pushed back.
Yeah. You've tried to set up businesses, you lose out on tenders because you're not willing to bribe. You try to, so you get into an accident. It wasn't your fault, but the other guy bribes the police officer and you're the one who gets charged.
Yeah.
So there's all this kind of thing. So I think the system is quite overwhelming. But if there is something we learned from the Gen Z revolution of 2024, our children and our youth are at a stage where they're willing to question the status quo. So they they haven't been beaten down as much as you and I have been beaten down. They're not battered. They're not like, Then they're like, why? Why does it have to be like that?
Yeah.
And we saw them rising, challenging the system and saying, no, why should we follow this finance bill? Why should we, in fact, so and they came together and we don't need a big politician to call us to the street. We don't need to belong to which Mount Kenya, which tribe, which grouping. We're like, no, we're Kenyans and we want something different for ourselves. So there is a young generation of Kenyans that we saw. It's not even hypothetical. We saw the kind of changes that they forced.
Yeah.
Forcing a president to fire a cabinet, their entire cabinet, is no mean deal in any country in the world. It's a big deal. It's not mean feat. Forcing a change in many countries, especially countries led by prime ministers, parliamentary governments, inability to pass a budget forces the government from the prime minister and all the ministers to resign.
Yeah.
It's a vote of no confidence. And that's what we managed to do.
Yeah.
That's what our youth managed to do. And so the ground is fertile.
Yeah.
These young people are willing to say, why can't our country have integrity?
Yes.
And part of the reason they're willing to do that is because they're also exposed. I think in our time when we were growing up, you could tell who has grown up in Nairobi and who has grown up in Oshago because of the kind of media we were consuming.
Yeah.
Completely different media. But these days, if someone does something in Mandera and shares it on WhatsApp or on TikTok, everybody has it.
Yeah.
So there's very little difference between a young person, a 22-year-old in Mandera, and a 22-year-old in Isabenia, a 22-year-old in Kakamega, in Malindi, Nairobi, Nyeri. Even their style, fashion sense is the same.
It's the same.
The music they're listening to is the same. So now ideas are able to spread, and that is what we saw with the Gen Z protest.
Yeah.
But fundamentally, what these guys are saying is that they're willing to question the system, and they're willing to fight for a different country. And so those are the people who will be the early adopters of this vision, of this integrity. They're the ones who will drive this thing.
Yeah.
We've now seen young people saying, we need to go and tell our parents to stop voting for these guys. In fact, some want to hide their parents' IDs and voters' cards and those kind of things. So again, an opportunity. If these young people embrace integrity and decide we're going to drive an integrity revolution in this country, they're going to tell mom, you can't do that. Dad, you can't do that.
You can't vote for this guy.
You can't vote for this guy. You can't bribe that cop. You can't. So they're going to begin to challenge the system, and they're going to, even in their family settings, they're able to speak into those spaces. So we have an opportunity to shift this thing and to shift the country. This is what I think is the opportunity.
Why is governance important to us as a people?
So, politics and governance.
Yes, politics and governance. Why is it important to us as a people? That's
a really good question that requires that we even just begin to define politics. Even if it's not a textbook definition, but just a general understanding of it, because politics has been given such a dirty name. And everyone says, politics is dirty. In fact, that's the excuse. It's expected. Politics is dirty. But I beg to disagree, because God is a politician.
Wow.
We say he's the king of kings. Kings are politicians, and he's a king. So, he's
the ultimate.
He's the ultimate politician, number one. But politics and governance is in a very simple way, it's how we organize ourselves to live together. It is decision-making between more than one person, 2, 3, 4, 10, 100 people, about how shall we organize ourselves so that we can live together. If we are how are we going to move from point A to B? Maybe we should build a road. And then on this road, let us have a rule that if you're going this way, you pass on the left, and you drive on the left, so that then we don't collide.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have organized ourselves. If we are sitting in this room and we decide, okay, this is a place where we live.
Yeah.
We might decide, okay, how do we want to paint this room? Do we want bright colors? Do we want dull colors? Do we want earth colors? What do we want? Decisions. So public decision making. Politics is actually public decision making. So when you say it's dirty, you're like, how is organizing ourselves to live
dirty?
Yeah, how is it dirty? So we're just trying to figure out, where do we build schools? Where do we build a hospital? Where do we build houses? What kind of houses? Where do we get our food?
Yeah.
How do we get water and electricity? So we are organizing this thing. So politics is the process of decision making about how we shall be governed. And who is going to make the decisions for us.
Yeah.
Because at some point, 3 or 4 people can make a decision, but when you become 3 million people, you can't all decide.
Becomes harder.
So we need to create a system of representation so that we have a few people who are elected or appointed to represent the many. And these people can sit down in a boardroom or in a hall and come up with a plan and listen to each other and agree on a way forward.
Yeah.
So what are they agreeing on? How we shall be governed. And so governance is important to us because it organizes how we live.
Yeah.
It creates us security. It provides us for public services. It makes sure that our children can go to school. So we have hospitals. So for a society to function, we must be organized.
Yeah.
The process of organizing is politics.
Yeah.
So that's why it is so important.
And I was asking this because it affects almost every aspect of our life.
Yes.
It helps us decide. So we have 100 bob. How is this 100 bob going to be distributed amongst us? Who is responsible to distribute this 100 bob? So we cannot take this thing lightly. And I ask this because I think as we've been talking, and clearly as you're challenging us, is we can actually be able to change the narrative of our country. We cannot afford to take this thing lightly because of the impact it has for many of us. Of course, we can look and see where our country is today. And we're not in the best of places, but we can be in a much better place than where we are currently.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We can look and see the development is happening. And bro, this is happening with all the mess that we're in. But think about how much more we would have if things were working.
Yes.
So you're challenging us to change the narrative, and it looks as though it's a daunting task. But actually, as I'm listening to you, Ranja, I'm like, it's actually not complicated.
No, it's not.
It's really not. We choose to complicate it. Or we think it's complicated.
It sounds like it's a utopian thing. We need to...
It does. Sorry.
And part of the complication is that we have avoided taking personal responsibility. And because for me, it has to start from me. I have to act with integrity.
Yeah.
And then, so that then my family starts to act with integrity. And then now my neighborhood and my community starts to act with integrity.
Yeah.
So that even when it comes to elections and we are choosing our leaders, my neighborhood will choose a leader, an ethical leader. And these people now go to represent us in government. And so the system begins to act like that.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. I had a very, very interesting challenge once. We had gone for a family, we had gone out as a family.
Yeah.
At the time, my firstborn son was young. He was 3, 4, somewhere between 3 and 4. So it's 10 p.m.
Yeah.
We're on Uhuru Highway. We are going home.
Yeah.
Now, 10:30. So we approach this traffic light and the light is red. Now, there's no traffic.
Yeah.
It's 10:30, Sunday night. Oh. And unfortunately, I think, I don't know whether you remember, back in the day, traffic lights after a certain time, I think 9 p.m. or something, it would change to amber.
Amber, yeah.
So they stopped controlling it. So it's up to you. Just beware, be careful, but you're not stopped. So I remember even just thinking, now what's wrong with the government? They can't just put amber. There's no car. There's nothing. I'm approaching this roundabout. There's nothing. So when the traffic light turns red, I'm like, am I going to stop? So I hesitate. And then at the very last minute, I decide, let me just stop. So my son, who's sitting in his back seat, he said, Dad, you've done the right thing.
Oh, wow.
When the light is red, you're supposed to stop.
Yeah.
And then when it is green, you're supposed to go. So you've done the right thing. Then he kept quiet. So my wife and I looked at each other for what? And I was particularly guilty because I'm like, I wasn't going to stop. I was debating.
You're ready to move on, to drive.
Yeah. So it's that simple.
Yeah.
That little act demonstrated to my son that you have to act with integrity. I'm not perfect. I also have my own struggles, but, taking little steps that way. So I think we have to take personal responsibility.
Yeah.
The challenge we've had in this country, and maybe in other countries, is that, again, we want to blame everyone else. So we blame the leaders, we blame our systems, we blame our laws, we blame our institutions. So our solution is we need new leaders, we need a new law, we need to have a very robust anti-corruption law. We need a very strong institution, ethics and anti-corruption. In fact, I think it has gone through metamorphosis 3 times. There was the original one, then it changed, and then now we ended up now with the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. We need new systems. We need process. So we're always looking for an external force, an external structure to change us. But really, you don't need all of these things. You just need to act with integrity. If you think about how maybe if you own a house, if you're living just the way you live at home, if your house is dirty, I know your house is not dirty, but imagine if you are a bit umelegea kidogo, you're not serious a bit. So your house gets dirty, gets a bit smelly. The carpet needs to be washed, but you haven't washed it. There's trash. There's a few dirty dishes, a few cockroaches that are, sharing the space with you. What is the solution to that?
I move house.
Buy a new house?
That's our attitude.
That's our attitude. I need a new system. This place is dirty. Yet the real solution is to clean up. Just imagine, just clean up. Clean that carpet, sweep the house, do the dishes. The house gets clean. So you don't need a new sofa set, a new carpet, a new roof, or maybe even a new house. So I think our approach has been, we need a stronger law. We need a new president. We need a better government. It's always not us. And so the simplicity of it that you're talking about is, let it start with me. And maybe
you can change you.
You can change, and then you can begin to influence the people around you. And slowly we begin to influence other people. And also maybe the other thing is to count the cost. So part of this integrity revolution thing is we want to make integrity cool, make integrity sexy, make integrity attractive.
It's going to be interesting to make integrity sexy.
Because the lack of integrity looks cool, looks interesting. The guy, it's always been said, the cliche thing for good guys finish last or good girls finish last. And so so if you're stuck in a queue, and someone is driving on the wrong side of the road, or what we call in Kenya overlapping, basically refusing to follow the queue and driving off the road to get ahead. They look like they know what's up. They look like they're the ones who have figured this thing out. If you're working in a company and the only way to get promotions is to sleep with the boss or to bribe someone to fix an interview so that you can get the promotion. If you don't do it, you look like you're the one who's struggling. And you can extrapolate this to everywhere. Our students in national exams have become problematic because people are cheating. And so if you're not willing to get that leakage and that, you'll end up with your C, strong C. And your guy who for sure would not have managed a C gets an A and gets ahead. So the people who are breaking the rules look like they're the ones who are getting ahead.
Yeah.
Like we said, wanajua kujipanga.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we have a famous saying in Kenya, mambo ni kujipanga, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
So now think about it that way. So it looks like acting with integrity comes at a great cost.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think about it, the lack of integrity ends up with a much bigger cost.
Yeah.
When a doctor or a nurse fails to act with integrity, someone dies. You get a misdiagnosis, you've been treated for the wrong thing. Yeah, someone dies.
Mm-hmm.
When a matatu driver doesn't operate with integrity, or the traffic police just take bribes, even on unroadworthy vehicles or vehicles which are speeding,
Mm-hmm.
it promotes impunity on our roads.
Yeah.
Impunity results in accidents, results in death.
Mm-hmm.
So corruption actually brings death and destruction to this country.
Mm-hmm.
We have seen buildings collapsing.
Yeah.
People have invested money, they have moved in. A whole flat with 50 homes collapses.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of death and destruction that comes with corruption.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that sometimes I think in the moment we get caught up in wanting to get ahead, and we forget that if each one of us tries to get ahead, then the system collapses.
Mm-hmm.
If you approach a junction and all of us try to get into the junction and get ahead at the same time, we end up blocking each other, and then we all get stuck.
Yeah.
And we lose the next 17 minutes trying to figuring out who should reverse, who should give way. And there's always the risk of someone will scratch you, and then we'll end up with a traffic incident. We stop and talk, negotiate. But if we all acted with integrity when we are approaching the roundabout or the junction, I'll give way. In fact, acting with integrity in such a situation would be approaching the junction with the intention of giving way.
Mm-hmm.
So I will slow down and give way and allow the other cars to pass, the ones who are there before me.
Mm-hmm.
And even if 7 cars pass, it's going to be less than 1 minute.
Yeah.
It's going to be seconds. And then they pass, and then the junction is clear, and I go.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a cost to it.
Yeah.
That we probably need to think about. But there's also that it's not that difficult to act in the right way.
The benefits, like you're saying, the benefits are way much bigger for every one of us.
Yes.
And nothing good can come out of corruption.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely nothing good can come out of it.
Yes.
We'll be denied services. Schools are not going to be built. Roads are not going to be built. Honestly, nothing good can come out of bad governance.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So if we do not make the right choices, starting with ourselves, it only costs us and hurts us more.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the example that you've just highlighted, where you said, if you go to the hospital and the doctor compromises, they don't give you the right diagnosis, and you get treated for the wrong thing, the end could be disastrous.
Yes.
Why should we expect anything different when we have the wrong leaders, taking up positions of leadership, that you have entrusted them? You have entrusted your life to this person.
Yes.
And you expect them to act in the right way. Yet, from the very onset that this is not the right person.
Yeah.
And you expect a good result out of it.
Yes.
So there's a lot at stake for us as Kenyans. And not just for Kenyans, but there's a lot at stake for us as Africans to make sure that we make the right decisions, to electing the right people in those positions. And what you're also challenging us, Ranja, is we need to change the way we do things right from the grassroots. So even when it comes to, you highlighted about political parties. And unfortunately, as a country, even the parties that got us independence, they're no more. Those KANU, when we all do Kenya's history,
yes,
we learn about KANU, Kenya African National Union. In fact, we learned that there were only 2 opposition political parties initially. And it was KANU and KADU.
Yes. KANU ya jenga nchi.
Yes. But now, they're both dead.
Yeah.
But even the parties that got us into the multi-party era, none of them are there anymore. I think the one party that has been consistent over the last couple of years now has been ODM.
Yes.
The one with Raila, it's been the one that has been consistent. But unfortunately, because as you're saying, the parties that we have are it's a means to an end. It's not, they've not been set up with values, or with the aim of being able to bring about change in our country. It's just a
Yes.
way of getting Mos elected.
Yes.
And once I get in, I form an alliance with Ranja. This party becomes obsolete. We form another new one. It gets us through to the next election.
Yes.
Then you and I have beef.
Yeah.
We go our separate ways. You fire me.
Yep.
And then you make a new alliance with the next person.
Yeah.
I think once we get the significance and the importance of having governance being done right in our country, then I don't even think we need 20 political parties. And even if they are there, they'll be there for the right reason.
Yes.
Because the leaders who are in charge of these political parties, they're men and women of integrity who desire to do better than the other person who's there. So in fact, the guy who is there in power right now, he's on toes. Because he knows the next guy, man, who's gunning for my position.
Yeah.
This guy might end up taking it.
Yeah.
So you're always on toes to make sure you have the service and the delivery of those services to your people well.
Yeah. The political party is a big missing or a weak link in our system.
I think it's like one of the weakest links that we have.
Yeah, because, if you think about it, a political party is supposed to be a platform that says this is how we would want the country to be governed. But apart from being a platform for governance, it also should be a training ground for people who are interested in politics, especially young people, so that you get in, you learn how to organize, you discover, you understand how policy works, you understand how campaigns work, and then you rise through the process. And so in my view, a political party should actually be a leadership factory. It should be a place where a successful political party is one that just churns out leaders. So because you're taking these people through processes and trainings and programs and activities that are helping them figure out how do we help the community. And so you find, not to say that, political parties abroad are, amazing, but there are some which have good structures. So you find someone like the former Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern, became Prime Minister at the age of 37. But it wasn't a fluke.
No.
She joined her political party at the age of 19 and grew through the process.
Wow.
So by the time you're 37, you've had almost 20 years experience. At some point, she was even an exchange program between the Labour Party of New Zealand and the Labour Party of the UK, which allowed her to go and work in the UK in the Labour Party and ended up, so you even have an exchange process. So you're seeing a political party being an institution where you're nurturing and growing leaders. And that's just one country. There are many other. When the party is an institution, it's like a training hub for the next generation of leaders. So, and that then denies, because of our challenge with political parties in Kenya, they are special purpose vehicles for elections. They are up and down and they are dead and they have no, think of even the big parties in Kenya. Just walk into their office. They don't have a plan for this week.
No.
So
even the ones we're mentioning.
Yes. And so because of that, that means we are not nurturing leaders. We're not training people. We're not discussing policy. We're not communicating to the community. So everything is just, freestyle, laissez-faire. We're just doing whatever it is that we want. And then the personality becomes the key, the focus, whoever the party leader is. And that's why some of these parties, if the party leader leaves, the party collapses. So I think we need to work a lot to build proper institutions as parties, which is a big vision, part of this whole integrity thing. For me, it's not just talking about integrity, it's building a movement to convince, especially young people, but Kenyans at large, that we can organize ourselves under the banner of integrity. We can create a political party that is founded on integrity and ethical standards and ethical leadership and servant leadership. That political party can identify candidates, nurture them, train them, equip them, and even support them to get elected as soon as 2027 for MCA, MP, senator, governor. I don't know about president. I think it would be too small, but you never know. God can do miracles. But the idea is can integrity even be the narrative?
Yeah.
We had an interesting experience as a country in 2020, at the last election, 2022. We had the famous Hustler campaign,
Yes.
the Hustler Nation. Now, I didn't support it. I had my serious questions about whether they were serious or not, about whatever they stood for. But I learned a lot from observing how they built that narrative. One of the most powerful things that narrative did was that it changed the mindset of your average voter.
Yeah.
In Kiambu, where I was campaigning, and in Mount Kenya region generally, from I am a Kikuyu to I am a hustler.
Yeah. It brought, and people from different parts of the country now started identifying with that narrative.
So it changed the mindset of someone in Maasai land from I am Maasai to I am a hustler.
Yeah.
So we were able to rally people around the concept of someone who is struggling to build themselves.
Yeah.
Because, the leader supposedly started as a chicken farmer and grew to the top of the nation.
Yeah.
And you and you are a hustler like me. You can also make it like I made it. Our only problem is the dynasties.
Yeah.
So come join us and let's do this thing together.
Yeah.
So the power of that message, whether you believe it or not, which as I said, I didn't believe it, but the power of it is that it shifted the mindset that we are organizing ourselves as voters from a particular region.
Yeah.
Sisi watu wa Mount Kenya, sisi wa Kikuyu, sisi wa Meru, sisi wa, all those kind of things. And created a unifying thing. And this is something I faced because I was campaigning and I was an independent candidate. And the pushback I was getting, I was like questioning this thing, but they were like, no, I'm a hustler. So it became an identity thing. Yeah. So it's possible to shift mindset of Kenyans.
Yeah.
So how about we try shifting the mindset of Kenyans when it comes to integrity?
Yeah.
And how we vote, how we and make operating with integrity and with proper ethics as an identity.
Yeah.
I am proud that I do this thing. I know I'm doing the right thing. I am teaching my kids. I'm talking about it in church. I am doing my business this way. I am voting this way.
Yeah.
I'm electing this kind of people. So it's possible to shift. And that's what we want to do.
I agree with you. And the good thing is, once we start becoming men and women of integrity, then it becomes very easy to expose darkness.
Yes.
Because now as you walk in integrity, you're a person of light. You're doing things differently. So when someone else comes and tries to tell you, do this for me, then I'll be able to offer you this service. And it's your right to get the service.
Yes.
It's going to be awkward for them
to
come and ask you for something of that nature, because they'll be like, man, the narrative is shifting. I'm going to be exposed for the work, when I'm asking for someone for a bribe to do something.
Yes.
I'm going to be exposed if I'm not offering the services that we're supposed to be offering. I'm going to be exposed if I've been given 100 shillings and I'm not doing the right thing with the 100 shillings that I've been given. So, Ranja, you have been doing something incredible over the last couple of years, and you're calling it Team Safi.
Yes.
Don't tell us more about Team Safi. Normally tumesikia Team Mafisi.
Wow.
On Team Safi.
Yes.
What's Team Safi?
So Team Safi was actually the name of my campaign team when I ran for MP in Kiambu constituency in 2022.
Yeah.
And why we were calling ourselves Team Safi is we were the guys who were going to do politics clean. That was our brand.
Yeah.
We are the team that is supporting Ranja for MP, that is doing things the right way. We are campaigning clean. We are sharing genuine stories about what we think we can do.
Yeah.
We are engaging people the right way.
Yeah.
We are proposing serious policy, and we're just doing it with integrity. So that's where that was the origin of Team Safi.
Yeah.
But now, as the more I have thought about and developed these ideas, and it is really, these are divine ideas. God, I'm not this clever.
Yeah.
It's God who has just opened my mind to this thing that you're struggling to do. You don't even need to struggle. Trust me, I can help you to grow this thing. In fact, just follow my lead. I will establish you. And not me, Ranja, but the movement that is for integrity, because this is something that God cares about. So it's an important thing for his people and how he expects us to operate. So Team Safi has just grown from Kiambu to Kenya.
That's amazing.
And we're like, remember the two guys we talked about in traffic?
Yes.
We say that's the clean team. Those are the guys who care about doing things right.
Yeah.
How about we expand that team? And so let's all join that team as Kenyans.
Yeah.
Let's build one big team of Kenyans who are called Team Safi, who are committed to doing things the right way.
Yeah.
Now, the word integrity can be quite a mouthful if you're quite ground when you're talking to people. But the word Safi, meaning cleanliness, is very, it represents integrity.
Yeah.
And so that's the word we're going with. And we're telling people siasa safi, maisha safi. And we're also saying ukisafisha roho, unasafisha mtaa, na unasafisha taifa. So everything for us, our brand is let's clean our country up. Let's clean it up of the corruption, the theft, the bribery, the fraud and the lies. And so let's make it clean. Yeah. And that's why the Safi movement, that's the Team Safi movement that we are creating. And the way we're doing it is, we are inviting people to conversations about integrity, just so that we challenge you to imagine, take a step. Let's not wait for the government. You take a step.
Take a step.
You take a step. But we are also going to the community, to the ground, and saying, let's do an activity, an activation that represents what it is that we are doing. Yeah. Let's clean up our estates. Because I think the breakdown of our systems, the most obvious sign is the dirt in our estates. Yeah. Trash, sewage, just unkempt spaces and those kind of things, drainages which are full and those kind of things. So we're trying to do a simple thing that everyone understands, which is cleaning up. Yeah. But that simple thing is also symbolic. We're cleaning our neighborhoods the same way as a beginning, or the same way that we're cleaning up our country and ridding it of corruption.
I love that. What's been the response so far?
It's been very interesting. I thought, like I said, it's been a faith venture. Yeah. And it's, it's been also a journey for me to just hearing God and obeying and following and saying, okay, I'm going to do this. And he's been telling me, don't worry, you just do the thing I'm going to tell you. So we started last year. Yeah. And, I assembled a small team of 9 guys and shared the vision. Yeah. And a few conversations later, we decided, let's expand this circle. Let's bring in our friends into this conversation. So we had our first public event, a forum at Mageuzi Hub. And we had some 40 people who came and we shared the vision and they were interested, and about 30 of them signed up. Yeah. And they said, we're willing to be part of this movement. And because we didn't want to be the kind of movement that is just a talk shop, we are like, we talk, we get inspired, then we take this message to the ground. So we organized 3 cleanups at community level. Those 30 guys, we divided them into teams, told them, go find a space, clean that area. And after you clean, sit down with the people who helped you to clean and just have a conversation about integrity, so that we take our message to the ground and just have those conversations. And so we did that in December. So we identified 3 spaces. One of the venues didn't quite work out at the last minute, but we had 2 cleanups, which was fantastic. So that's what we ended up doing last year. Yeah. And then, and then in January, we, convened again, said, let's again bring our friends into this conversation. Let's have another vision session where we share what it is this thing is about, and, have these conversations. And we had another 53 people show up for that event.
That's more than you had the first time.
Yes, which was amazing. And 26 of them signed up. So our movement grew, almost doubled in size immediately. Yeah. And this coming Saturday, actually tomorrow, we're going to the ground. Remember, we meet 1 month, and then the next month we go to the ground to Safisha Mtaa. We're calling them Safisha Mtaa Challenge. And tomorrow we're in 7 venues. So the group that started out is now cleaning in Machakos, they're cleaning in Ruai, they're cleaning in Kawasukari, they're cleaning in Feather, and all these other spaces. So 7 venues. So that's what we are trying to do. That's how we're building.
That's incredible. And they come from these neighborhoods.
Yes, they come from the neighborhoods. Like the guys from Machakos, is guys who actually live in Machakos who heard about the vision and they said, we're coming to Nairobi to hear. And then they heard and they were like, okay, we're going to Machakos to spread this word.
Yeah.
And we're hoping that that way we'll be able to build a groundswell and convince Kenyans that not only are we talking about integrity, because it's easy to talk about, we are doing the most basic thing that we can do at our level.
Yeah.
Something we can take ownership of. We're going to clean our community.
Yeah.
And we're going to operate from that level and build our country and build integrity in our country from that ground level up, all the way to national.
So I can tell you that you have a 54th member here.
Oh, fantastic. Yes. Amen.
So I'm definitely going to jump on this wagon because there's something I can be able to do. And I want to be a part of those guys who change the narrative.
Yes.
I just do not want to talk about the negative things that are happening in our country. But I want to sway the 5 to come and join the 2.
Yes.
So we can start shifting the direction that our country is heading in. And it's also going to go beyond our country.
Yeah.
I believe that as Kenyans, if we choose to do things the right way, other African nations adapt. Or they're like, or they adopt.
Exactly.
They adopt our ways.
Yes.
They're like, we like what's happening there. Because like when the Gen Z movement was happening, other African nations were watching.
Yes.
And they were like, want to do what's happening. If Kenyans can do that, we want to do that. And what the Gen Zs were doing is a beautiful thing. Because they're calling the government to account. And our president was able to respond at that time to the requests of the Gen Z, which was not a bad request. They're just saying, man, let's do things differently. And so if we start being that nation of integrity, I have a feeling that other African nations are going to follow.
Wow, look at that. That's global, continental impact, global impact.
What Gen Z showed us last year with the demonstrations.
Yes.
It shows that we can do things differently that's going to be emulated by other countries.
And think about that. The Bible tells us that we are called to be salt and light.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking about.
This is exactly what it is. It's not just something for Christians, It's something for Muslims and Buddhists and, all the different religions that we have in the country. Because I do not think that there's a religion that's propagating for people to rob and to steal from one another.
Exactly.
So we can come together on this one banner.
Yes, and agree. We're
going to be a nation of integrity.
Yes.
We're going to encourage our people in our communities to be men and women of integrity. And then if your son could watch you stopping and, by the street lights, and they're like, Daddy, you've made the right decision because the light was red. You model something for him that day.
3-year-old.
3-year-old. How much more if we did that daily? Doing good deeds. In fact, the Bible encourages us, towards love. We encourage one another towards love and towards good deeds. And I think that's what Team Safi is encouraging us to do. So I want to be a part of that team.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Join. We need to build this movement.
Man. You've already won me over, man.
And I'm sure by tomorrow we'll have a lot more because when we are on the ground, it's easy to recruit. So we'll have a lot more.
In fact, let me tell you guys, because this podcast is happening, it's been dropped today. So it's today.
Yeah.
It's today. So make sure if it's happening in your area code, go ahead and do it. And actually, you don't even need Ranja to encourage you to go ahead and do the right thing in your neighborhood. Just do it.
Organize and clean up your hood.
Yeah.
And support the movement where it's an integrity revolution for Kenya.
Yeah.
Yes. So join the movement.
Absolutely.
Let's build a political, and it's a political movement because we've realized that the politics is a core aspect. That's where our leadership comes from. And so because it affects so many things in our society, the movement is designed to first deal with our hearts, deal with our communities, and deal with our nation.
Yeah.
And so that's why there's a political move to make sure that we have a political organization, candidates of integrity, and genuine choices. And so this is how it starts.
Let's do things right, guys. Let's do things right. And the other thing that I do like, Ranja, about the conversation and what you're challenging us to do is, let it start with me. Let it start with me. And I can change what's here. And the good thing is God is willing to help us change from the inside out.
Yes.
That's why he's given us the Holy Spirit. And as I change, Ranja will be able to see the change in me, and Ranja will be like, man, Mose, I like what's happening in your life. And I can tell Ranja and be like, man, let's just change for the betterment of, first us as individuals, the space that we have, then for the families or the communities that God has allowed us to be in, then for the society that we're living in. And then, it's going to spread towards our county, and then towards our nation, and then towards our continent of Africa, and then also beyond globally. And guys, it's possible that by 2027, in 2 years, we can have a Godspeed kind of change where we can do things differently.
Yes.
But it starts today.
Correct.
The best time would have been 5 years ago. The next best time is today. Today, not tomorrow, because today is what you have. I love this, man.
Yeah.
Thank you,
what
bro.
we're doing. Welcome to the Integrity Revolution.
I love it.
Yes.
Nikondani.
Karibu.
I'm sold in, man. I'm sold out. I'm sold out to the cause.
Yeah.
Nikondani.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me for the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me here.
We've talked for like an hour and a half.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, but thanks. This is so cool. And
You're
just
welcome.
the opportunity to share. And because we need to talk about this thing. And
More.
what you've done is just help amplify the conversation. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, thank
I've
you.
really enjoyed it, Ranja.
Yeah.
Thank you for challenging me. You have a convert.
Yes.
And there'll be many more converts out
Very
there.
good, very good.
Ladies, tukondani? Jen, tukondani? Yeah. We're going to do things differently, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Guys, today on my podcast, I've had the wonderful joy of hanging out with my friend, Andrew Ranja. We have been boys for a long time. We went to school together in primary school. He's an amazing lawyer as well. Let me say, Yani, a lawyer who does not cut corners, it's this guy.
Yep.
When we were registering our trust, I'm going to tell guys that, he was like, Mose, this thing is going to take 6 months. And for me, I don't cut corners. Like 6 months, so we'll wait for the 6 months. And that's exactly how long it took.
Yep.
So let me vouch for him as well. As a man of integrity, I've had the opportunity of knowing him. And Ranja, thank you for coming and encouraging me and encouraging us to do things differently, to be men and women of integrity, so we can do things the right way and change the narrative of our nations. Indeed. Guys, I hope that you've enjoyed the podcast today. And let's go out and let's be men and women of Team Safi, basically doing things the right way. It's your boy DJ Mo saying thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. And, go ahead, like, subscribe, share to this podcast. And if you've loved it, share it together with your enemies because, you need to keep your enemies close. I'll see you. That's how you show love to them. We love you guys. Peace. And thank you for joining us today. Asante.